Thank you to the producers who make this mess possible. Hello and welcome to watching my life fall apart before your very eyes. It's going to be very, very entertaining, I think. So things are not going great, but I've been in weirdly good spirits as of late, to the point that my therapist asked if it was a coping mechanism. It might be, but I'm leaning into it. I'd rather take advantage of the times where I'm doing all right than, putz around. This is not the video where I fight off tears as I teeter on the edge of poverty. Man, this ain't no time to be a I'm probably gonna have to bleep that at the first minute of the video, but I've been doing a lot of thinking about what it is I want to be doing with my life and, how it is I want to go about it is what's up in the air right now. I mean, I know what I want to do. I want to support young men. I want to fix a broken world, give resources. I want to be of service. Sure, fame, money, being a Twitch streamer, whatever. That would be great. It would be nice to have fame, and it would be nice to have an audience, and it would be nice to have money so I could accomplish the goal of trying to set good examples and be there for young men who are abandoned by a society that chooses consciously to leave them in the dirt because it just has no use for them. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as I'm working toward that goal, toward providing something for them and hopefully creating something amazing in the process, then I will consider it a success. So, welcome in as I try to brainstorm for that. My name is Richard, and I am so glad that you could be here today. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford any actual rum for my rum and coke, so it's just a Coke and Coke. Oh, wait. On the rocks. Now we're cooking with portals. So I got a lot of things to figure out in the next couple of months. A lot of things. Fortunately, because I get therapy through not a government initiative, like a private organization that's funded with government resources, something like that. Suffice to say, my therapist is really well connected with the services and initiatives that are here in Illinois for people who are struggling financially or trying to find work. So that's good. We're just going to lay everything out and try to put into practice and make a plan. Number one is housing. Got to get that figured out. I'm losing my apartment in a couple of months. They've already started showing it, which feels really shitty, but it is what it is. Honestly, if I had bothered to reach out to some of my friends who would have been willing to help me with my rent sooner instead of letting it get 3 months behind before asking for help, could have saved a lot of money in the long run, and they might have let me actually re-up my lease, but we are where we are now. And honestly, as much as it sucks, I think it might be for the best, because my hometown is basically falling apart. For those of you who don't know, I'm in the little college shithole known as Champaign, Illinois, which is a phenomenal place if you're upper middle class white person and nobody else. Wealth in a college town is built on the backs of urban blacks and rural whites working for well below what they should be paid and to provide goods and services to the administrative class. That's a different video. Anyway, I need to leave. They always pretend, that's the problem with these fucking white liberals. They pretend like they care. They pretend like, oh my God, I want to support the impoverished communities. No, they don't. They want you to be a nice, subservient little service worker who never speaks back and never wants to own their own business or strive and only exists within the realm of providing cheap services and labor to the administrative class in the United States. Not that it really matters. They replaced all the workers in entry-level jobs with Venezuelans and Guatemalans that they're shipping in under the guise of saving the impoverished peoples from poverty. God forbid the U.S. help these countries fix their own issues. Let's just ship in all their people so we can use them as our own personal underclass to take advantage of. Gotta love white liberals. Hypocritical all the way to the end. But I'm sorry, I'm ranting now. I need to figure out my housing situation, which, again, while it sucks to lose my apartment, I think it's going to be for the best because I don't have a choice but to leave town and probably Illinois overall. Second thing I need. Cash money. I mean, that could come either in the form of actually getting a job. And honestly, if I can go somewhere where at least the upper middle class is going to be taking advantage of me, won't be people I know, I'll work at Burger King if I have to, if that's what I need, just to make a little bit of cash to, keep the rent paid. It could also come from actually getting the channel off the ground, but I mean, who knows if the algorithm's going to let me? Who knows? I've been on this platform for 3 years now, and while I don't know, I have some people in my life, including my therapist, who, talks with me and knows I'm a pretty charismatic person with a lot of desire to help people. yeah, like, you're passionate, you're talented, like, you should go for this. But, you know, it's whether or not the algorithm is going to actually allow me to succeed that's going to make the difference here. So those are the two options. I should get a pin for each of those. So either I get YouTube off the ground somehow, maybe just, I don't know, pay a Chinese bot farm to just saturate my channel so I can finally get viewership, or get a part-time gig, but that's dependent on me getting out of here where there are actual jobs. I do have one more option though. I'm gonna use the orange for the wild card slots here. Preach. Because, funny enough, again, kind of a wild card option, I am thinking about going back to church and possibly becoming a minister. You know, my goal with the channel, with my content, with my being online and present at all, has always been that I want to do it because I want to be able to actually help people. I suppose they all say that, don't they? But I want to be able to, like, be a good influence. God knows that the social media space is lacking in artists and packed to the gills with degenerates. It could use one more good masculine man who wants to be there for other young men in a way that's not just bashing women, you know? Becoming a preacher could be a way to do that, or a minister. I don't even know the difference. I don't even own a Bible. I'm interested in going back to church, so that would be more of a long-term thing. I'd have to really sort of reevaluate and rebuild my relationship with God, which would be a really long-term thing. It's not something you just dive back into. So it would be a long-term commitment, but it's something that I'm open to trying at some point, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. So these two are more of like the needs kind of thing. I suppose the third one's got to be, it's got to have to be like the actual message that I'm trying to put out there. I've always wanted this to be a place that is actively supportive of young men in a world that is not built for them. You know, in a world that is actively hostile to the idea of men, to the idea of strong leadership, to the idea of fucking planning, honestly. A world that is more about, let's all just be a bunch of free-thinking individuals who individually do our own individual things and not really worry as long as you do exactly what I'm doing and don't believe anything else or else you're a Nazi. You know, in that world, men are just not, that's not how men think. It's not, or at least not how they're designed to. And if you and for those who disagree, be mad. But it's just not how men are designed to be, you know? It's not how they're designed to interact with the world. It's foreign, you know? Our job is to take that off of women and children. That is our role. Our role specifically is to take that burden of what is messy, what is undesirable, taking that upon ourselves so that children can focus on being children and women can focus on being women. But now we're in this world where women want to have that role, and also they want to have their previous role, but they want to be celebrated for their previous role, and they want to celebrate it for taking men's roles, and men are supposed to be shoved off into the fringes of society, which they were, which is how Andrew Tate was able to sweep the whole demographic so easily. But I don't want to frame it as just being anti-red pill. A lot of it is just a response to where the world is right now. So I don't want to frame it, my message, as being anti-red pill. I want to be something separate, something new that is sweeping away an old culture, and as well sweeping away the extreme leftist woke stuff that was responsible for the rise of the extreme right-wing red pill and black pill stuff. It's all connected. They're two halves of the same neoliberal, individual, hyper-capitalist coin. I want something timeless. That's the word. Timelessness. Timelessness. Teaching young men to live in a timeless masculine role and convincing society to appreciate that role, because that role is antithetical to everything society's pushing right now, unfortunately. And how do we do that? Maybe now is the time. It's what is it you do? How is it you go about that? You know, what is it? You know, how does it all connect back together? How do we go about pushing that message? How do we do that? You know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but we just need to get the ball rolling on getting this going, you know? One subject I've been watching a lot of content on YouTube about, it's a very, very interesting rabbit hole, has been why young men have stopped going to church. And a lot of the reasons basically come down to the fact that churches, much like academia, much like the political sphere has largely shifted over to catering to women, single mothers, and young men have basically been left out to dry because church isn't made for them. This is a universal cultural movement that has happened outside of just politics on a human level. This is something that's been chosen in our sphere of the world to shove men to the fringes, and that's happened in the churches too. And it comes down to what it is that they're pushing, this sort of like generic schlock. Just love Jesus and wait for everything to work out. Men don't work that way. Men don't want that. There's a YouTube channel I've actually been watching with another buddy of mine called the Redeemed Zoomer, who does like really factual what it is the church believes, going into very detailed specifics of it, and it's fascinating. Even as someone who hasn't been to church in years, it's fascinating. I could listen to a lecture on that all day. I don't want to go into church and listen to some gaslighting lecture, praise God and let the rest of your life fall into place. No, that's not how it works. That's not how I work. That's not how life works. It's just not. I don't want to listen to half an hour of Jesus is my boyfriend worship music that's designed for not for my demographic. It's not. And that's not a bad thing. It's okay for churches to provide spaces for women. God knows being a single mother is the hardest job in the world, but where do young men go? That's always the issue whenever anyone online talks about the fact that men are left lonely and at the fringes of society. It's always like, well, it's okay, it shouldn't be wrong to support women. Well, it's like that, no one's saying that, but where do young men go? Where is the church space? Where is the godly space? Where is the space for learning universal values? Timeless, masculine roles. Where is that for young men? Part of why I was considering being a preacher, we need that space. We need to have that space as men to learn universal values, universal concepts of masculinity. We need to learn about what our place is here. What it is that our role is when society allows us to fill it. The left seems convinced we're going to have some kind of a formal civil war in the next couple of years. I think that's unlikely. I think more likely, if we continue to push men to the fringes, we end up with our own homebrew version of Boko Haram roaming the Black Hills. Housing. Let's circle back. I gotta figure out where I'm going to live because I can't live here. I'm gonna have to live in... I have a short list of 3 cities. Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, or Milwaukee. That's the short list right now. Somewhat affordable, good housing, good job markets from what I've heard. Austin and Nashville apparently have pretty good creator scenes. Possible collaborative opportunities there. Daily Wire is based out of Nashville, but, it's the Daily Wire. They're kind of on the way out, honestly. But letting Brett Cooper go was the biggest mistake they ever made as a business. A horrible, horrible choice. There's not... Let me just write it. Let me just keep writing down. Okay, it's not quite a plan, but it's one step at a time. I did get some really good advice from a friend of mine to try and judge where you want to move. If you're having trouble finding a job, try sending out job applications to the cities that you want to go to on your short list and see where you get the most responses. I've already tried Austin before, and I got a ton of responses. There's so much hiring happening in Austin right now, and I wasn't applying for anything fancy, hotel front desk positions, food service jobs, stuff that I've done before, but would be happy to do again if the pay's even just adequate, if I have enough to survive. I don't mind while I'm getting my YouTube career off the ground. So that's the next thing. I need to start sending out some applications. Okay, just actions. What are actions we can be doing? My internet is turned off right now, but fortunately I can still go down to the library right down the street from me. I can send out some job applications, evaluate the responses I get, and go searching on whatever sites I can, Zillow, Craigslist, wherever I can, anywhere that might potentially have shared rooms, cheap apartments, transitional housing, potentially. That would be a last resort, but, it's better than being on the street. The main issue with a lot of these cities, though, is that, I specifically want to move to a more right-leaning city, but that's also going to mean that without a car, I'm basically fucked because, they're right-leaning cities, and the idea of public transportation is anathema to their existence, apparently. So that's going to be fun. I'm really worried about Austin specifically because Texas is notorious for its lack of public transportation or any non-car infrastructure whatsoever. So not insurmountable if that turns out to be the place where, and I know I'm already getting lots of job responses, if that turns out to be where I got to go, and I know there's a lot of content creators that I could potentially collab with, that's it. That may be, it's not insurmountable. Let's stick to that. There is always opportunity here, though. Like I said, my therapist, being connected, did send me some interesting opportunities. There's actually a couple of these floating around. Make It in Illinois is the one that he sent to me. There's also the Hire 360 that Chicago specifically is doing. It's the city-run program, I think. If I could get work in manufacturing, that's decent pay. The real question is going to be, well, A, are the taxes in Illinois worth staying for? Will it lead me to one day being able to get housing, especially with property taxes here being so outrageous? And would any of these programs be willing to work with me without having a car? I'm sure that can't be like an unreasonable or like an uncommon thing, though. I wouldn't think. I mean, if specifically these programs are designed to work with men and women in difficult situations, not having a car can't be like an insurmountable thing. Or maybe it is, and they just don't care. Using transportation as a form of soft segregation is one of Illinois' favorite things to do. They have a lot of stuff throughout the state that I could apply for, and I'm definitely doing that. Not a lot of stuff in the heart of Chicago for Make It, Illinois. I wonder if any of these programs would be open to having like a new social media face, I mean, obviously, apply for the manufacturing jobs too. That's on the docket. Let me just actually write that up there. Okay, I've got Make It, Illinois, Hire 360. I could potentially reach out to one of the unions and see if any of them are hiring. That would definitely require a car, though. They would not tolerate that. I mean, especially because, for union work, it'd be a lot of you would be working under someone directly, so that would be insurmountable for that. I do wonder, maybe if I could reach out, see if any of those programs are looking for new social media personalities. That could work. I mean, not that I wouldn't also apply for manufacturing jobs. I would. Again, the whole point of my channel is getting young men to go out and strive for jobs and careers and family. Maybe I could work with one of these programs to help promote them, get young men involved, and maybe we could do like a mutually beneficial type thing. We'll see. Let me put that up there too, actually. Yeah, could reach out to some state-run programs. They may be looking for social media influencers who want to help young men, or potentially the Illinois GOP. Illinois' Republican Party is notoriously worthless, though, and pretty much only exists just to fundraise for a bunch of billionaires to run their little boys club. It's a pretty pathetic institution. They don't really do much. I actually got an email from them recently, funny enough, just today, asking me to buy a ticket for a $70 luncheon here in Champaign. You think I have that kind of money? And also, what are you even doing for the actual community? Aren't you the family values side? Ugh, they're worthless. But, if someone in that party could potentially be looking for a younger face to put them on social media, especially with Dick Durbin retiring, it's, that could work out, potentially. It's worth at least shooting a couple of emails, some job applications, and evaluate and do a housing search in Nashville, Milwaukee, and Austin, the potential sites to move to. I'm going to, I should look up more. What more can I do for social media? That's the next question. What more can I be doing here on the YouTube channel to potentially help it take off? Because I gotta be honest, I have no idea. I mean, yeah, I can make more Project Zomboid content. Pretty difficult for me to talk about the hot new mods or tips and tricks videos when, I don't have internet right now. It's a little bit difficult. Not that I wouldn't get bored with that in 10 minutes anyway. I'm not really into the modding scene, if I'm honest. I'm really bad at being part of internet communities. I didn't grow up on the internet, so, I've never been good at being parts of those communities. So I don't know the hot new modding scene. I don't know. I can figure something out, though. More Project Zomboid content is good. Yeah, let me just go ahead and write it down. Well, let's get a couple of things. More Project Zomboid content, number one. More personal stuff, I guess, as I'm going on this journey, trying to figure things out. I mean, what's done well? Bashing Mr. Beast did really well. Actually, the Wes Watson video got a shocking amount of watch time, more so even than the Mr. Beast video that got more views. So I might double down on doing more long-term kind of internet investigative stuff. That could be kind of fun. Let's just take those for right now. Okay, so I've got Project Zomboid, lolcow investigations, and personal life stuff, which historically do pretty well. Stick to that for right now. Probably should take down the readme sign, actually, because it's kind of confusing being next to the other pink ones. Okay, I think we've got a plan starting to come together here. I suppose there is one more wild card we could put up. Angel investor. You know, if I could find someone to put some equity into the channel, you know, that would solve a lot of problems. Yeah, I'll write it down. There we go, angel investor. I got to admit, at this point, I would give up a hell of a lot of equity in this channel for 30 grand. All the like content creation jobs and potential like, you know, partnerships and whatnot, they all want you to have 30,000 subscribers, you're getting 100,000 views consistently. And it's like, if I could get that, I'd have enough money to live. What the hell would I even need you people for? If I could get 100,000 views a video, I'd be set. I would be fine. What the hell would I need to partner with anyone for, you know? That's what's so weird about social media and finding someone to invest in you. Like, you already basically have to master thumbnail design and SEO keyword nonsense and video editing, cinematography. If I already have to do all of that and be reaching 100,000 views a video, you know, just to be noticed by anyone willing to partner with me, what the hell would I need to partner with anyone for? I don't know, what is there? What's looking sparse? I think what's looking sparse is the message. That's what we need to be keeping an eye on. Like I said, I want to pull young men away from the red pill space, but I don't want that to be the message. Just Andrew Tate is bad, or Fresh and Fit is bad. Fresh and Fit are symptoms of a larger issue, of a world that has isolated young men to the fringes of society. They are not the cause. So the question is then, what is the antithesis? What is the actual message that brings young men back into the fold? What even is the fold? Is the fold work? Is the fold the church? Is the fold just hope? Giving up on MGTOW or red pill or black pill or whatever wide range of varying degrees of toxic behavior that men have normalized in their lives. You know, where is it? What is that? What does it look like to even bring men back to the fold? That's the message. That's what I got to find the core of. What is it that they're looking for? That's it. That's the spot. That's the thing I got to figure out. And whatever it is, if I can move toward this spot, if I can move toward this, I can rest knowing I'm doing something with my life. Everything else is stuff I can work on, you know? As scary as it is to have the housing situation hanging over my head, you know, losing the apartment in a couple of months, not the end of the world. As bad as it is for my credit, as bad as it is for everything, I'll figure it out. I always do. But this, that, what the hell is in that big space? What goes there? That's the question. I'm gonna knock this corkboard off the wall. But wouldn't that be a way to finish the video? That's it. That's the thing. That's the thing I gotta find. Gotta figure that out. I've been reading this book, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, which is all about the individual masculine roles throughout time. Again, shooting for timelessness. I found it to be very, very interesting. So far, I believe that my role is the king. That's my masculine archetype. And figuring out how you can best serve society is ultimately the goal, you know? In my case, the way that I serve is by, I don't know, I'm still figuring out the specifics, but I get told a lot people like it when I give speeches. It's about figuring out what it is people want from you, how you can best serve the world and society and your community, serve your people, your tribe. In my case, being the king, a lot of my role is receiving love, which is pretty hard when you're from a nasty background. Being a strong presence in the world and in your community, maintaining order, but not in a sense of like, whoosh, being that calming presence, being the center of conflict, speaking with that voice of God, speaking with authority. That is my role. That is what I want to do, what I want to bring. I may make some more content about that book at some point because it's been a really fascinating read, but I recommend it. Like I said, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. I think that's the title. I'll make official content about it at some point, I'm sure. That's the question. Right there. That's it. That's the big hole I gotta figure out. Well, I guess that's gonna be the next video. It's gonna be figuring out what the hell goes in that hole. And it's probably gonna be a bit of a ride. Thank you guys so much for watching, though. This is, I'm really trying to be a bit more personal. I struggle a lot with letting people in, but I'm trying to change that. Because again, my role is being an example, being a voice of authority, and being a voice of peace, being a voice out there in the world. So, thank you for being with me on this journey as I attempt to do that. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next one.